If you love the stories of and the rest of the story, subscribe now. In the mid-1980s, Brian was on the cusp of something extraordinary. He had poured his soul into the creation of an album that he believed would redefine rock music. With his signature guitar riffs and knack for crafting unforgettable melodies, Brian was poised for greatness. But behind the studio walls, trouble was brewing. "Brian, we need to talk," said the voice on the other end of the phone. It was the band's manager. Brian leaned back in his chair, guitar resting against his leg. "What's going on now?" "Dave is not happy," the manager said carefully. "He feels, let's say, crowded." Brian laughed, though there was no humor in it. "Crowded? I'm the one in the studio 12 hours a day, writing the songs, laying down the tracks." The manager sighed. "It's his band, Brian. You know how these things go." Brian did know frontmen often got the lion's share of the glory, and David had always been a larger-than-life presence. Still, the news stung. He had worked tirelessly on this project, crafting every note, every lyric to perfection. The songs were his blood, sweat, and tears. "Let him know I'm not going anywhere," Brian said, his voice steady. But fate had other plans. As the album neared completion, Brian found himself increasingly sidelined. Meetings were held without him, decisions made without his input. The final blow came in a terse letter. His services were no longer required. The band moved on without him. The album, a self-titled masterpiece, was released in 1987 to massive acclaim. Songs like "Here I Go Again" and "Still of the Night" dominated the charts, their thunderous riffs and soaring solos a testament to Brian's brilliance. Yet his name was nowhere to be found in the headlines. Brian could have crumbled under the weight of the betrayal. Instead, he picked up his guitar and started writing again. "You're wasting time," a friend told him over beers one night. "Wasting time," Brian replied, his voice sharp. "I'm building something better." And he was. Fueled by the bitterness of his departure and the fire of his ambition, Brian formed a new band. He called it Blue Murder. With the group, he created music that was unapologetically his own, raw, powerful, and unmistakably brilliant. "These songs," Brian told a journalist years later, "are what I wanted to say without anyone else's voice in my ear." Blue Murder never reached the stratospheric heights of his former band, but Brian didn't care. For him, it was about the art, the authenticity, and the freedom to create without compromise. Today, fans still marvel at the guitar work on that 1987 album, often wondering how such a pivotal contributor could have been dismissed so easily. But Brian wasn't his name. It was just a placeholder for the real story of John Sykes, the man who shaped Whitesnake's most iconic album before being unceremoniously cast aside. And now you know the rest of the story.